Hey everyone, and welcome to this video where we are going to talk about disputes and chargebacks. As you're scaling your business, you'll have situations where some people are unhappy and they will contact their bank and file a chargeback. So how do you win over these chargebacks? I'm going to show you the template I used when I was leading the operations for a big company, and you can use the exact same thing. So let's start with the first thing, why you have chargebacks in the first place. There could be three reasons for that. First of all, you could be over-promising and under-delivering, which is very common, especially if your sales team is not being monitored by a manager or yourself. They could be big promises that it would be impossible for your delivery team to fulfill. The next one is poor delivery. Maybe your systems and backend operations really suck, and as you're scaling, it is really visible. So clients want their money back, you don't want to give the money back, boom, chargeback. Next one is chargeback fraudsters, especially for low ticket offers, meaning offers that are just under $100 in digital products. There are people who want to get your product for free and they don't want to pay for it. And they understand that if they do a chargeback and your account gets blacklisted, that you will not be able to process online payments. So they understand that you understand this, and that's what they take advantage of. Now, how do you avoid these chargebacks? It is really important that you identify your client avatar and only sell to them. For example, if you are a design agency or a marketing agency that gets results for a certain niche or industry, try to focus primarily on these people until you can expand and have a bigger total addressable market. But identifying your client avatar will help you get these people results and not have as many disputes or chargebacks. The next one is to not misguide leads on sales calls. So instead of making transformation sound super easy and making it sound like the top 1% is the average client, just stick to the average results. Now, of course, understand that with marketing, you have to promote your service and you need to talk the big numbers and the big results. But on the sales call, as you're onboarding this client, you need to make it clear to them that it takes work also on their end. And of course, there will be things that will work and other things that they will not work. But what matters is that we stick to the process. Now, the next one is something I already mentioned, and that is monitoring the promises made by your sales team. Now, getting on to the fourth point, you need to have agreements in place and they should be signed before or right after collecting a payment. You need to have a refund policy clearly stated and any guarantees clearly stated. The reason for that is because if you don't have your refund policy or your guarantees clearly stated, you're going to lose the dispute. That means Stripe or the bank will side with your client and you're going to have to refund this client. Now, of course, if you put a lot of work, maybe it will be considered, and maybe if you have other proof, but you're more likely to win this dispute easier if you have an agreement in place and the client has signed it. Now, if you want these templates and also all the financial tracking and also agreement templates, you can check the link in the description. You can see the automated financial tracking product we have, which is really affordable for everything we're giving you. So check it in the description. And now let's continue to the next one. Process refunds before going into a dispute. If and only if the client didn't use your services or digital product, meaning they didn't log in, they didn't consume it, they had some issues with logging in the first place, and now they're complaining and they want a refund. So it's better if you give that refund than going into a chargeback and dispute. The reason for that is because you don't want to get blacklisted. And if the client used just for a limited time, then you can consider a partial refund. That is also another thing. You don't have to give a full refund. You can give a 70% refund, 50%, or you can negotiate it with the client. And the next thing you can do is also enable the fraud radar on Stripe. So that is a service from Stripe. And of course, it's not going to necessarily stop all the chargebacks from coming your way, but you can set rules to not accept payments with Stripe that are high risk. So this way, these people will not be able to purchase your products, their cards will be blocked, and that means you have lower chances of getting a high dispute rate on your account and getting blacklisted. And the last point here is communicating with chargeback fraudsters firmly, because there are situations where someone will use your service for months and months, and then they will tell you that they will file a chargeback and get you blacklisted. I've had the situation when I was working in a company that was making $500,000 per month, and there were situations like that. And what we did is we communicated firmly like, hey, this is not okay, and you have used our services, we've gotten your results, you have gotten all the one-on-one support, we can help you get your business in a better place, but we cannot give you a refund. So in these situations, when people were threatening us to file a chargeback, we would firmly communicate with them like, actually, this is not okay, and we know exactly how to dispute these chargebacks, and most likely they will get blacklisted. And don't be afraid to have this communication with these types of clients, because they are literally fraudsters and their account is probably a high-risk account. The same way that you could get blacklisted, the same way they will get blacklisted as well. This has worked very well a couple of times for some of our clients when I was working with them. Now, to sum everything up, you need to have a client avatar, make sure your delivery and systems are set in place, ensure that you have an agreement during your onboarding process as soon as the client pays, and process a refund if you don't want to burn bridges and potentially have this client come back later on. And lastly, if you have chargeback fraudsters, be firm with your communication and tell them like, hey, the same way I could get blacklisted, you could get blacklisted as well. And we know exactly how to dispute situations with chargeback fraudsters. So the next one is Stripe settings. You can set up these settings, and you can pause the video here to make sure that you're preventing failed payments, to make sure that you're charging only the right clients and you don't have random situations where you're charging people without needing to charge them. So the last part I want to show you is how to manage chargebacks. First of all, you need to have a timeline. Don't drag this dispute until the last minute. You need to make sure that you have time to collect information from your team. You need to have time to communicate also with the client because they can withdraw their chargeback, and you need to have time to process all this correctly. So within 24 hours, start collecting information, start communicating with your clients. And the first thing you need to do is ensure the client has signed an agreement before getting any logins and getting access to the service. Confirm the payment plan. For example, you could send them a welcome email or a message where you're sending a message like the one I'm showing here. You can tell them, hey, we wanted to confirm your payment plan is this and this and that. Do you agree? Or please confirm to your earliest convenience, and then they do that. This is proof that they have accepted the payment terms. And then the next one is confirming client satisfaction over time within 48 hours, asking them how everything is going, if they're happy so far, if they have any concern. Again, this is also proof. And educate yourself with articles about disputes. Stripe has so many articles. Just get familiar with the terms disputes, dispute rate, and so much more. Now, let's get into the part where you actually are in this terrible place and you got a chargeback. What do? You need to create a folder to store all your documents and proof. That means you need to start taking screenshots before proof is deleted. You need to have recordings of calls or conversations, and then you need to have all this proof in one document. What I see with some people is when they fight disputes, they put a bunch of files, a lot of recordings, like random, but they don't compile all of this in one document that is clear for any employee of Stripe or any bank to easily understand if the company or the client is on the right. So over here, you want to have all your files uploaded this way, and ask your sales and delivery team to upload all the proof in this subfolder, including one-on-one conversations and any files that could help with fighting this dispute. So let me show you what the dispute file would look like. And by the way, as I mentioned before, you can have access to all of this and so much more related to finances with a link in the description. It's called the automated financial tracking. So in this document, you'll add all the proof with the payment plan, the screenshots, call recordings, boom, where the client is here. And you're going to add points where you're showing, okay, there's a zero refund policy. You're going to add screenshots. You're going to add so much more. And this is what you're going to send to Stripe, so then you can dispute this chargeback. And then lastly, the communication. When a client initiates a chargeback without prior communication, you need to be clear with them, like, hey, this is not okay. Let's have a chat. Let's try to withdraw this dispute and let's solve it between us, because there's no point for us or you to get blacklisted and for your account to be a high-risk client. And this is something that your sales and client success team will manage together. You want your head coach or head of delivery to be able to tackle these situations without involving you. And this is why these SOPs are so helpful. All right, guys. So as you can see here, there are different ways that you can prevent the disputes and the chargebacks, but you need to be organized and you need to understand your client avatar. Of course, if you have a terrible delivery, the client is very likely to file a chargeback if you don't refund them. So on your end, make sure you're as organized as possible. Make sure your delivery gets your clients results. And then if you have chargeback fraudsters, that you are firm with your communication and you know how to fight back. You can access the files that I just showed you and so much more, like automations to track successful payments, failed payments, disputes, refunds, and so much more, as well as having a financial dashboard that you can check right here by clicking on the link below, which is the automated financial tracking. I hope this helps your business as you're scaling. I'll see you on the next one.